Yes, my friends, the Kirk Cousins saga in Atlanta has taken a different turn, and if you thought this situation would be resolved quickly, think again. Let's break it down together, and I'll tell you everything that's going on here. So be sure to hit that like button and let me know what you think would be the best solution. Let me know in the comments. Now, a new report from Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer suggests that Cousins is in no rush to accept a trade, and we may have to wait until draft weekend before anything actually happens. Think about that for a second. This means the Falcons could enter the NFL draft with Cousins still on the roster, despite making it clear that Michael Penix Jr. is the future. So why hasn't a deal happened yet? And what does this mean for the Falcons going forward? Let's break it down. Breer's report gives us an important clue as to why Cousins isn't moving. It all goes back to what happened last April, when the Falcons blindsided him by drafting Penix Jr. with the number 8 overall pick. If you recall, Cousins signed with Atlanta expecting to be the guy, the leader of this franchise for at least a few seasons. But that vision was ripped away from him on draft night when the team took his replacement before he'd even played a play. Now, Cousins isn't going to let that happen again. According to Breer, Cousins wants to wait until the draft is over before accepting a trade. He wants to make sure he doesn't end up in the exact same situation, going to a team that turns around and drafts his replacement right away. And honestly, that makes a lot of sense. Picture this. Let's say Cousins agrees to a trade with the Browns. He gets a fresh start in Cleveland. But then, on draft night, Cleveland takes Shedeur Sanders 2nd overall. Boom, Cousins is back where he started, stuck in a situation where everyone is just waiting for the rookie to take over. That's exactly what he's trying to avoid. And that's why this trade might not happen until after the draft. So now the big question, what should the Falcons do? Because keeping Cousins around doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Let's be real. Cousins does not want to be in Atlanta. That much is clear. He reportedly went to owner Arthur Blank and asked to be traded. So why keep him in a locker room where he doesn't want to be? If you're the Falcons, it's not about the money. Trading Cousins doesn't free up a ton of cap space. But what it does do is remove a distraction. Michael Penix Jr. doesn't need to spend his rookie season with a veteran QB in the room who doesn't want to be there. He needs a backup who actually embraces the role and is ready to help him develop. So what's the solution? A QB swap. The Falcons should look to trade Cousins for another backup quarterback, someone who is actually okay with being QB2. And there are 3 teams that make a lot of sense. First up, the Cleveland Browns. They just traded for Kenny Pickett, but what if they decide Pickett isn't their guy? The Browns could flip him to Atlanta and essentially turn a 5th-round pick into Kirk Cousins. Cousins gets to compete for a starting job, and the Falcons get a backup who isn't going to make things awkward in the locker room. If not Cleveland, how about the New York Giants? Let's say Aaron Rodgers signs with the Steelers and Russell Wilson picks Cleveland. That leaves the Giants scrambling for a quarterback. Would they be comfortable with just Jameis Winston and Tommy DeVito? Maybe not. So in this scenario, DeVito comes to Atlanta as the backup, and Cousins gets a shot at starting in New York. And finally, there's the Pittsburgh Steelers. If they miss out on Rodgers and Wilson, could they look at Cousins as their best available option? If so, Mason Rudolph could be part of a swap, bringing a backup to Atlanta while sending Cousins to Pittsburgh. This kind of move makes way too much sense for everyone involved. The Falcons don't have to pay extra for a new backup QB, and they avoid having a disgruntled veteran in the locker room. Meanwhile, Cousins gets what he wants, a fresh start on a team where he can actually compete for a starting job. Now, this isn't just about the quarterback situation, because the NFL draft is coming up fast, and the Falcons have a massive decision to make at pick 15. And we just got a big clue about where they might be leaning. Head coach Raheem Morris was spotted at Mike Green's pro day at Marshall. Now, this isn't exactly breaking news. When you desperately need a pass rusher, of course, you're going to go watch one of the top defensive ends in the draft. But this does confirm something we've been hearing for a while. Atlanta is locked in on taking an edge rusher at pick 15. I know, Will Johnson has been my favorite pick for Atlanta. And if he's on the board, it'll be hard to pass on him. But at this point, I'd be shocked if the Falcons don't take an edge rusher. The pass rush has been a disaster for years, and this is their chance to fix it. So who are the top pass rushers the Falcons could take? Let's break it down. At number 1, it's Abdul Carter, the best pass rusher in the draft. But let's be real, he's not falling to 15. So let's move on. At number 2, I've got Jalen Walker. This is where things get really interesting. I used to think Walker was more of an off-ball linebacker, not a true edge rusher. But after diving deeper into his tape, I've changed my mind. The guy is a game changer. He had 6.5 sacks last season, tied with Mikael Williams for the most on Georgia's defense. And while he might not be a pure edge rusher yet, he could absolutely develop into one at the next level. Think about Micah Parsons. At Penn State, he was an off-ball linebacker. Now, he's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Walker has a similar frame, and if he bulks up just a little, he could be an absolute monster for Atlanta. At number 3, I've got Mike Green. The guy led the entire country with 17 sacks last season. That kind of production is hard to ignore. Sure, some scouts are hesitant because he only has 1 year of elite production, but if you watch the tape, it's clear he knows how to get to the quarterback. At number 4, it's Mikael Williams. A more traditional edge rusher, but injuries held him back last season. Still, the potential is there, and if he stays healthy, he could develop into a high-level pass rusher. And finally, at number 5, I've got James Pierce Jr. He's one of the fastest edge rushers in recent history, running a sub-4.5 40-yard dash. If the Falcons want pure speed off the edge, this could be their guy. So here's the final question: what should the Falcons do? The Falcons are locked in on drafting an edge rusher at pick 15, but what if the draft board doesn't fall in their favor? If Abdul Carter, Jalen Walker, and Mike Green are gone early, should Atlanta reach for a lower-ranked pass rusher or make a move, trading up or down to land the right player? Moving up would likely cost a second-round pick or even a future first, but if Fontenot and Morris believe one elite pass rusher could transform the defense, they may have to pull the trigger. On the other hand, trading back into the 20s could allow them to still land a solid pass rusher like James Pierce Jr. or Mikael Williams while gaining extra draft capital. Teams like the Cowboys, pick 24, Dolphins, pick 21, or Chiefs, pick 32, could be looking to move up, giving Atlanta a chance to capitalize. But here's the wild card: what if Will Johnson is still available at pick 15? The Falcons need a pass rusher, but Johnson is the best corner in the draft. Pairing him with A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates could give Atlanta one of the league's best secondaries. And knowing Raheem Morris' love for defensive backs, this could be very tempting. So what's the best move? Trade up for a top pass rusher, trade down for more picks, or grab Johnson if he's there? This is a franchise-defining decision, and what the Falcons do will shape the defense for years to come. What do you think? Should Atlanta go all in on an edge rusher, take the best player available, or trade? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for the latest Falcons news and draft coverage. Go Falcons!